Hello and welcome to today's lesson where we're looking at the COIN feedback model. Giving feedback is a critical skill for any team leader, but it can be tricky to deliver effectively. Give feedback that's too harsh or say the wrong thing in the spur of the moment, and you could damage your relationship permanently. Conversely, give feedback that's too timid, and you may find that the person's behavior and performance doesn't improve as hoped. Feedback is even more challenging to deliver if you feel uncomfortable, anxious, or nervous. The COIN feedback model is a simple framework that you can use to plan your feedback in a constructive, positive, and non-confrontational way. Learning to master feedback will help your team reach its goals more quickly. But in addition to that, it can bring many benefits, including that it builds trust, it grows individual and organizational performance, it makes your people feel valued, it helps create a culture of feedback, it clarifies expectations, and it builds an open and honest culture as well as improves retention. Now, the COIN feedback model is a 4-step process for providing individual feedback, with each step followed in turn, and the 4 steps are context, observation, impact, and next steps. Now, one of the big advantages of the model is that it keeps your feedback constructive and stops you from getting sidetracked when you're trying to deliver an important message. By keeping your feedback concise and focused, you speed up the communication process as there is less space for misunderstanding. So let's examine each of the steps. So first we have context. You begin your feedback by providing context as to what prompted you to give this feedback. So describe the situation in which the event took place. Include additional details, such as the circumstances around what happened, who was there, where it happened, and the time of day and date that it happened. The second step is observation. And here you describe the actions or behaviours you want to give feedback on. This should be a specific action or behaviour that you actually observed. So describe what you observed factually and avoid using emotional language, making judgments, or describing how the actions made you feel. The third step is impact. Here you describe the effect their actions had on you and others. This is crucial in helping the individual understand how their actions have affected others. Without understanding how their actions have negatively affected others, they're much less likely to change their future behaviours or actions. You can describe the impact of their actions in a tangible way. So, for example, maybe you lost a contract, or you can describe it in an intangible way. So, for example, maybe they upset a team member. And the final step of the model is next steps. And here you mutually agree on how to move forward. In other words, you need to agree jointly on the next steps. Now, during this last step, you need to help them see how they should have acted and what they can do differently next time should a similar situation arise. Now, knowing what words to use during each stage of the model can make the model much easier to use. So let's look at the words and phrases commonly used to introduce the phases of the model. So for example, if we're looking at impact, we might begin talking about impact by saying the impact of all this was, or we might begin by saying it caused the team to feel. If we're looking to set context, we might start by saying at the meeting yesterday, or on our Zoom call this morning, etc. So let's look at an example of using the model in an office environment to cement in your head how to use it. For this example, imagine you manage a small team and you're trying to shape it into a high-performance team. Yesterday, in a team meeting, you observed one of your team members mock and ridicule another team member who was absent from the meeting. You think this behaviour is unprofessional and you decide to use the COIN model to prepare for a feedback meeting to get them back on the right track. Your rough notes that you prepare for the meeting might look something like you see here. So for context, you might be planning on saying, at the team meeting yesterday, I noticed something and I want to talk to you about it. You might mention that you're trying to create a high-performance team And you might say that I know one day you'd like to manage your own team. For observation, you might say, I noticed you ridiculed a team member. It wasn't just a one-off quip, you did it 3 times. In terms of impact, then you might say the result of this was that some of the team laughed at what you said, but the rest of the group felt uncomfortable and embarrassed. It frustrates me because of this. Behaviours like that make it difficult for me to hit my objective of creating a high-performance team, which obviously disappoints me. And it makes each team member worry about what you might say about them the next time they're absent. I mean, how would that make you feel? And then in terms of next steps, you might say something like, obviously what I'd like you to do going forward is keep those thoughts to yourself. So finally, before we wrap up, here are some feedback tips which you can use alongside the COIN model to help you give great feedback. So give your feedback promptly. Your feedback is no longer timely and relevant if it's about an event that happened months ago. Small nuggets of feedback work better than dropping a massive bombshell of feedback once in a blue moon. This allows the recipient of the feedback to regularly make minor but frequent course corrections to their actions and behavior, and is much easier to accept than being asked to make huge changes to your behavior. If you're giving negative feedback to a person, then do so in private. Giving positive feedback in public is a good idea, as it allows the individual to bask in the glow of the approval from their colleagues. And finally, keep your feedback limited to 1 or 2 specific events. Remember that your feedback aims to help someone improve, and providing too much to work on is just going to make this harder. So in summary, giving effective feedback is a critical skill for any team leader, and the COIN feedback model is a simple framework that you can use to plan your feedback in a constructive, positive, and non-confrontational way. By using the model, you create less opportunity for misunderstanding because you're being very precise about what happened, how it made people feel, and what you'd like them to do next. So that's it for this lesson. Really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.